Hi, everybody.
Hey!
Welcome to the White Hatter YouTube News Show. I'm Brandon.
I'm Darren. Hey, you know what?
Ooh,
I just got my flu shot.
all right.
I just got my flu shot, right? And you know why I did it?
Why?
Because I'm a boomer. I'm
Yes.
a 55, just about a 56-year-old male, and who identifies as male. Is it called cis? I'm a cis male?
Yes, it's white man.
I'm a cis white male. And because of COVID, they're saying that getting the flu vaccination, this year's flu vaccination, is a good thing, because if you get the flu, that means your immune system is down, which makes you more susceptible to COVID, right? And so, yeah, I went and got my flu shot. And you know what? I got the needle, didn't feel a thing. And I got it at the pharmacy. The pharmacist gave it to us, which is kind of cool. Are you gonna get one? You should see what happens when he gets a flu shot. I'm not gonna
Moving on. Let's talk about updates. Updates must. First update is, we're November 18th is our next featured event, 2-hour event for parents and caregivers. It's Dangers of Online Sexual Predation, Exploitation.
This is a premium one, right?
Yes, it's one of our featured programs.
And
that
how much is it? It's like $5.95, right?
Something like that.
Yeah, $5.95. Yeah. Like, it's one of those ones that extremely important in today's world, because as we're all physically separating, we're staying connected socially by using social media. With that comes an increase in likelihood of individuals potentially connecting with young people for sexually inappropriate reasons. And there's no doubt that anecdotally that we've seen law enforcement internationally say that they've seen an uptake in it. And you know, when we asked the teens, because we asked our teens about this as well, they said, yeah, you know, about 25% of them have stated that they've seen an increase in the number of people who are connecting with them online who they did not know, love, or trust for sexually inappropriate reasons. So that presentation, I think, is extremely timely given where we are in the world and how everybody's moving online. And again, it's all about enlightening and not frightening. My opinion, this is one of the ones that we do that should be a must-watch by all parents. Now, I say that about all our programs, but this one especially, because we believe that knowledge and the understanding and application of that knowledge is power. Yep. So, you know, trying to teach kids don't talk to strangers online, good luck, right? Like, they're gonna do it, and most of them are gonna be nice people anyways, right? So, and the other ironic thing is, if your child's in trouble and they need help and mom and dad aren't around, a stranger may be the only person to go to in time of need, right? But the important part is understanding how the online predator, exploiter, the lures, the grooming techniques, because if the kids understand that, then they're far less likely to become a target of this type of crime. Yeah. So there you go.
Pretty much.
So check it out. Where can they go? Right to our website, right?
Yeah, it's on the website.
What's our website again?
TheWhiteHatter.ca.
Whitehatter.ca.
Let's talk about some news.
In the news.
First news topic today is a ruling here in Canada from Alberta court about smartphone laptop searching during border crosses.
Yeah, let's talk about this one a little bit. I mean, you know, the big one was going into the United States, right? Because we know that U.S. Border Patrol have the right to look into any electronic device without warrant. Like, they can just do it for whatever reason, right? They don't even need what they call probable grounds.
I believe they changed policy.
You know, they haven't. They really haven't. They said they have, but they really haven't, right? They might change with the new administration that's coming in. Anyways, back on topic. But Canada was a little different, right? Like, in Canada, there were definitely some stopgaps put into place. But under the Immigration or Customs Act, these CBSA, that's Canadian Border Patrol and Security Agents, they have the right to check objects, right? The word objects. And at the time, they defined a cell phone, laptop, any kind of digital device as an object. I
mean, it is an object.
Yeah, technically.
It's an object.
It is.
The definition of object is a thing.
It's, yeah. But
your glasses are an object.
That's true.
It's an object.
You're an object. Anyways.
If you want to really break it down to that, then yes. So we are all objects.
So they had guidance, though, that before they could do that, they also needed reasonable grounds in order to do that, right? Well, and some of the provincial court levels and some of the opinions that they got at provincial court levels across the country upheld that, right? And in fact, I think the Supreme Court of Canada said that as well. They upheld it, right? Well, just recently, this article here, the Alberta Court of Appeal, which is a fairly high-level court, because what's interesting about this court is that because it's an appeals-level court, their decision applies right across the country. It now becomes case law, right? The only people that are going to be able to override this is the Supreme Court of Canada. So I think that this is on its way to the Supreme Court. There's no doubt about it. But at this point in time, this does become case law.
So what they're saying is you can't search.
What they're saying is that you need to definitely have reasonable and probable grounds to go into the device. So just because somebody comes across the border with a phone into Canada, you can't just willy-nilly go in and have a look at it, right? You just can't do that. You need reasonable grounds.
If they're suspected of fraud, per se?
Correct. Or in these two cases, it was child pornography, right? Where what these travelers, and they were Canadian, what these two travelers were doing is their travel history, because like it or not, when you travel, there's a history of it, right? That the CBSA has a look at, or the United States Customs can look at. But their history was somewhat suspicious of where they were going and what they were doing. So that suspicion, it was suspicion at this point in time, not necessarily reasonable grounds, but the suspicion led them to look into the devices, and as a result of that, they found child porn.
Right, and that just because you went somewhere fishy does not mean you actually did commit a crime.
Correct, but there was lots of extenuating circumstances about where they were going and how long. It was raising suspicion, not necessarily to the point where it was reasonable grounds. But with that suspicion, the current policy was you can go ahead and look in it, right? So what this court said is not. It has to be more than mere suspicion. It has to be reasonable grounds.
Right.
But even with that, the court in Alberta still convicted the two individuals. So although the court said, you know what, CBSA, from here on in, you need to have more than just mere suspicion. You have to have reasonable grounds to go in without warrant. They still upheld, and both were convicted for the importation of child and possession of child pornography, which was a good thing, right? But I think this is on its way to the Supreme Court. I'll be honest, I think the Supreme Court of Canada will overturn the Alberta decision. I do. I think they will. Why? Because it makes it much harder now for CBSA to detect issues with travelers who are coming into our country for nefarious reasons, right? So think terrorism, think all those other kind of things, right? So it'll be very interesting.
It's basically
sure.
Just use an encrypted network and send your illegal data that way.
I know.
Don't bring illegal data through a device.
Yeah,
use a private network.
Store it into the cloud. I mean, that's what a lot of people who know what they're doing, who want to cross borders without getting caught, are doing, right?
No, it's those who are less so intelligent going, it's safer on my physical device crossing a border.
Exactly.
No.
So it's an interesting case, though, right? Because again, it's the courts weighing in on the issues of privacy and technology, and giving authority to those in positions of authority, law enforcement, the ability to look without warrant, right? And there's no doubt that CBSA officers are given more latitude because of the border issue, right? Compared to say law enforcement,
quite domestic necessarily.
Right. Yeah. So like when you think domestic law enforcement, you think like city police departments, provincial, RCMP. In order for them to go into a device, they need reasonable grounds and a warrant, except in exigent circumstances, to go in. Well, the courts have basically given the CBSA more latitude because of the border,
it's more foreign policy than
correct, right? So it'll be interesting to see. This will be a good one to follow through the courts. So,
all right,
yeah, interesting one.
Camosun, a local college here in Victoria, giving high school students the opportunity to jump on post-secondary education. Darren, what's this one all about?
What's really cool about this is they've created a new program that they're putting out where they worked with all the school districts on the Lower Island to get kids involved in STEAM activities, science, technology, engineering. The A stands for arts and the M stands for mathematics, specific to digital opportunities, getting work and jobs, right? And I'm happy that they included the A, because a lot of programs just say STEM, S-T-E-M. They don't put the arts in there. But arts are important. A good example, Apple. I mean, one of the reasons Apple is so successful is you look at the artistic creation of not only their products, but their advertisements.
You could have the most technically sufficient website out there, but if it looks terrible, no one's going to use it.
Well, look at the Apple Store, right? Like all the other big players are now following that model because they know it's effective, right? So art is an important component of the tech world. So, and that's really important for students who are watching us to know, right? Because you'll hear a lot of parents going, well, why are you taking art? Yeah, that has nothing to do. No, trust me, in today's world of digital, I mean, look at the design of games. Right? Gaming, and there's a lot of artwork that goes in artistic.
Yeah.
But what's really cool about this is it's a program now that students in the senior levels can take. And if you graduate for that, you also get college credit. So that when you get into first year college university, you're already going there with some credit, right? But I just think that this is just an excellent, like last year, we say this in all our presentations. We had over 182,000 openings for coders in Canada, 182,000 openings. and companies couldn't fill all those positions, so they were hiring people from other countries, right? So getting young people, especially women, or those who identify as female, because I think that segment of our population are underrepresented in the tech industry, right? So starting programs like this, where there is a real synergy between the public school system and getting college and universities that are usually for profit, right? I think is a great idea. And so big tip of our white hat. We gave a big shout out on Twitter, on our Facebook page. And we just think it's a great idea. And it should be something that I think other school districts and universities should be thinking about.
Totally.
Yeah. Anyways, so there you go.
Next story. You're going to hate this one.
Okay.
Apple vulnerabilities.
Oh, no.
The guy every show is like, I got my Apple super secure and private.
We're always going back and forth on that one, right? So what was going on with this one?
So this one, basically 3 vulnerabilities detected for the Apple devices,
Okay,
iOS.
let's caveat this. Whenever a new software program comes out, there's always going to be issues, right?
Or even old ones. iOS has been out for
exactly, right? But iPhone is still safer than Android. But anyways, so what were these ones?
Basically, a vulnerability.
Cal, what do you think?
A vulnerability, potentially allowing someone to corrupt your device memory and able to get your security keys or passwords.
Okay, that's
one, being able to basically through a font, being able to access personal data, all that stuff. So basically, iOS users, iPad, iPhone, there should be an update pending.
How'd they find out about these? Was it like a bounty hunt or what was
from Google?
Google.
So Google has their 0-day team. Basically, it's a team of
who owns Android?
Google. But at the same time, Apple has its own team. Adobe has their X-Force team. Like every company, large company.
It's good that we have things like this, right? Because again, I don't care what I think anytime you release a new update, there's always going to be little things that the human element just misses, right? So having teams like that are important, which also brings up from a job standpoint, right? Like for those kids that are taking the STEAM course with Camosun, I mean, learning how to be a pen tester, penetration tester, the test code and that kind of stuff, huge industry right now, right? And they're offering bounties for people who find these kind of things, and you get rewarded by these big companies.
I'm sure the Google team laughed when they found it for Apple.
Whatever.
Naturally, come on. If you're hired by Google to find issues, they find it on the company's competitor's phone. I mean, I'm sure you're like,
yeah, that's true.
And that'd be me, like,
yeah, I get it. Yeah. But still.
And then Apple finds an issue with
let's be
Android.
honest. What's safer?
Out of the box? Apple. The
Thank
Apple
you.
iPhone.
Thank you.
MacBooks are the same vulnerability as Windows PCs.
Thank you.
Same vulnerability.
Thank you.
Out of the box.
I rest my case, Your Honor.
It's because Apple's super restrictive.
Race.
Bye.
It's a flu shot.
Bye. See you. Keel's over.
Do you want to go there?
No, that'd be me. The next story is Google Forms abused to phish AT&T credentials, which is interesting because last show we talked about how individuals were using
and phishing. That's
Google
spelled with a
documents.
PH, right?
Yes. How?
Can you just for people who may be watching this for the first time, what is phishing?
Scams, online scams, and that's what it is.
Okay.
People scamming, usually using false information.
And hoping that you're going to bite into that scam and then they'll and usually for criminal purposes.
Yes.
Okay.
So essentially, Google Forms, and it was interesting because last show we talked about how individuals were using Google Documents and putting malicious links in there and sending it to people in order to bypass spam filters. So most emails have spam filters, but because they're using a Google Form or a Google Document, Google is usually on a whitelist. It's because, it's from Google. Right. It must be safe because you can't prevent anything from Google coming to you. Otherwise, you can't do anything.
So you said one of the defenses to this on the last program was like, if you receive a Google Docs from somebody you don't know, don't sign into it, right? Yeah.
So, this one is Google Form. So usually all Google Forms at the bottom have, this is a Google Form. Don't put passwords in here, right? So, but you can make a Google Form look very professional. Fairly professional if you know what you're doing and how to design it. So just be cautious of any forms that ask you to put in your password that aren't the regular login. So if you need to log into your AT&T account, make sure you use your regular AT&T login portal, not something else, not a document, not a form.
What do you think about a red scarf today? It's a little Christmassy, right? Like, But I got a little bit of a bone to pick with you right now.
Why?
You helped your mother bring down all the Christmas stuff on the weekend. And upstairs right now looks like Santa's workshop. And it's only November, what is it? November what?
When this goes out?
November 9th.
Be the 10th when this goes out.
Like, thanks.
Ooh.
Anyways. But I mean, it's kind of cool too, right? With, COVID, we're all at home and that kind of stuff. But thank you.
Okay. Tollmaker Mattel hit by ransomware. Now, I mean, as they reported, there wasn't anything, no customer data was stolen, and their systems weren't heavily impacted. But just to let everyone know that even big companies can be subject to
all I can think about is for Christmas, right? All these toys that kids are getting from Mattel that are now connected to the internet and all that. They'll turn into a horror Toy Story, right? Where all of a sudden you have G.I. Joes attacking people now and doing stuff. I'm just saying. It's not going to happen, but that's the vision. When you brought this one to my attention, I could see all the picture that came to mind was Toy Story out of control, right? Where all of a sudden these toys are attacking people.
Hackers are an interesting bunch. I wouldn't be surprised if that was their goal.
But you remember a couple of years ago how they were talking about a lot of the toys that were coming out now that were connecting to the internet, about some of the privacy vulnerabilities associated with that, right? Because again, these toys that are being developed that connect to the internet, people weren't really thinking about privacy at its foundation, and how some of these toys could really place one's privacy and even security at risk. So let's hope that the new toys that are coming out this year kind of think about that. We'll see.
Last story for today's
this one
show.
Is troubling for me when you brought this one up. I'll be very honest with you.
Now, this isn't the first time Ring and privacy have been brought up on the show in the
doesn't
news
Ring
media.
have a program similar to this?
Yeah, so Ring has their Neighborhood Watch program, which essentially community members can sign up and they can basically share certain videos with community members, just like suspicious people in the neighborhood, which has a bunch of biases attached to it.
Right.
Additionally, it gives law enforcement the ability to submit a warrant to Ring to retrieve the video. Now, what's interesting about this particular thing is... Thing. I mean, I don't know what to call it.
I know.
So basically, the police department of Jackson, Mississippi is currently going to start a 45-day trial period, and they're working with two companies. And what the objective is in order to connect these boxes into businesses, public departments, and potentially homes in order to centralize live video for investigative or active crime situations.
Okay, so let me get this straight. So police departments are partnering with, we think, Ring.
Well, no. So,
we don't know.
To clarify, so Ring has made this very clear. This is not their program. This is not their program.
But what they want to do...
two other companies that somehow have like an app on Ring.
Okay, so...
Maybe
these third-party vendors are partnering with the police.
Yes.
Where if I'm a homeowner, it's an opt-in program too, right?
Opt-in, homeowner or business. So business you can opt in as well.
So what does that mean? Why is that important? Because that is a check. That's a good check.
So when this article and other articles talking about this hit the public, a lot of people were assuming, police can have direct access into my cameras in my house.
Right.
No. So you as a consumer have to actually opt in, sign up, and actually agree to be a part of this program.
Okay, so that's a good check, right? I think from a privacy standpoint, anytime you have to opt into a program by default is a good thing, right? Because a lot of programs in the past, it was an automatic. You have to, in order for you had to opt out, right? It's what? Right? So I like the opt-in. So we got a third-party vendor who's working with a police department and homeowners, where the homeowner can opt into this program, which now means these third-party vendors supply this little box. And to be quite honest, it looks like the Apple TV box, right?
Yes.
It kind of looks like the Apple TV box. So now what you do is you take your cameras, you plug it into this box, it encrypts the information and sends it to this third party, who then hold all that information, and then when needed can be accessed by the police department.
Yes.
All right. Now
I can show you the promo video. So they have a promo video of the service. Now, obviously, it doesn't tell the whole story, but it kind of gives you an idea.
Can you play this for everybody?
Yeah.
Let's play this for everybody, because when you watch this video, you go, "OMG, oh my god!"
It's interesting. Let me just pull up here.
Stand by. We need to have a little musical interlude while you're doing.
Well, if we're using this computer, it would be easier.
Oh, okay.
Because it mirrors everything there.
Sorry. Well, whatever.
Welcome to Fusus.
Do we have sound?
The
I
industry's
do,
first
'cause I have a
cloud-based,
Okay.
rapidly deployable, real-time crime center.
Like, watch this video.
Fusus
Brandon showed
integrates
me this
all
video.
major public safety technology investments into a single pane of glass, synthesizing real-time
RTC3.
intelligence to enhance first
You know, when I was
responders'
listening to it, they
situational
used
awareness
some
and
very
decision-making capabilities.
catchy
All this
technological
information is integrated with
phrases.
As with
department's
any tech
911
company.
dispatch software via a rules-based engine designed to ensure the real-time crime center lives in the hands of
Very
agency
slick
crime
video,
analysts
right?
and its
Like,
field-based users.
it's slick.
Setting up
See,
Fusus
that
is
looks
fast,
just like the
requires minimal hardware,
ITV
and
box.
has
Yeah,
zero
there's like
activations.
HDMI in and
You
out, so
simply
that's kind of
plug
how
a
it
Fusus
works. And there's
core
a
into your
network in and out
existing
for network
camera
cameras.
network. And within seconds, the video feed is analyzed,
Okay,
securely
so
encrypted,
this was
and
when I was
transmitted
watching
either
this.
by an ongoing live
Kind of
stream
makes sense.
or on
Right.
But
demand
watch where
based
they
on an
go with
alert.
this. Or
And
what they
unlike other
plan they can
systems,
do with
video
this
and alert
technology.
sharing is completely controlled by the donor location. For
And
example,
it says the
schools
sharing
may
is
choose to
controlled by
limit
the
video
donor
sharing to
location. So
emergency
if you put in your
situations,
business, you
like an
control
active
when and how
shooter
you
event.
share it.
Right.
And the camera itself can be shared based
Now
on
this
the
kind of
priority
makes
of the
sense from
call
a, you know,
and
I was a
associated sharing
commander for
policy.
ERT, right? So that
In
kind
an
of
investigation,
makes some sense.
police
But
can
here's where the
automatically
scary
request
part starts
footage
to
from
take
all nearby
place.
businesses at the click of a button. And camera owners can securely share recorded as well as
Especially when
live
they
video
kinda
feeds to aid in the
build
investigation.
upon this in a second.
Incident video and data
Right.
is stored in a CGIS-compliant vault for
Great. Okay,
investigators.
everybody says they put in a secure
And
vault.
additional video evidence
But
is
we hear
easily
how many times
collected
are those
via a
getting hacked. But this
pre-configured
is what
camera
is scary.
registry
Like,
map
look
of
at
all
what
the public
can
and
be
private
done.
cameras
Like,
in your
to
region,
me,
along
that's
with a
very
multimedia tip line
Orwellian
for
in
the public.
nature,
The
right?
Fusus
Where
real-time
you're almost becoming a surveilled society. And that, you know, a lot of people will say, you know, Darren, you come from 30 years in law enforcement background, you should be promoting something like this. And I'm going, well, hold on a second here. Yeah, although I was a cop for 30 years, I'm also very sensitive to the issue of living in a surveilled society.
Right.
Where, you know, like my question that I have on this technology is, okay, great. Police, vendor, accessing, opting in, information goes to the vendor. What's the vendor doing with that information? How are they using it? How are they utilizing it? Are they utilizing it to sell more products? Or are they selling them?
Probably not.
Well-
Well, however, we have seen in the past use private videos that were shared in neighborhood app for marketing purposes.
Absolutely.
So I mean,
we
like,
have,
now
right?
again, this is not Ring's program. I don't know how this company integrates with the Ring doorbell cameras.
Like, you know, the idea of being able to connect into a school. Like, you and I have both taught in a number of U.S. schools now, and the difference between going into U.S. schools compared to going into Canadian schools is like night and day, right? Like trying to go into U.S. schools, like going into Fort Knox, right, where there's usually double locked doors, and then once you're in the school, there are cameras everywhere within the schools in the U.S. because of what's going on down the States with things like active shooters, right? So from a commander standpoint, from an emergency response team or what people call a SWAT team perspective, if I can get real-time information on where an active shooter or aggressor is within a school,
Right.
that is definitely a benefit when it comes to deploying resources, right? Like, I get that. And right now, many police departments are working with school districts to allow them to have immediate access to do that anyways, right? Like, that's going on. My concern with this is that, like that big video they showed, it's not just schools. It could be anybody who opts into this. It doesn't matter if it's businesses or
But
if
they
it's
said
private.
there's a rule-based system in place.
Rule-based. Okay, so a couple things about rules. You know, bad case law in Canada and the United States is as a result of government agencies and law enforcement breaking the rules, right? And so that's
Or
where,
mislabeling something in order to get more privilege.
exactly, right? So that's where the conflict. So what are the checks and balances on this? Like, there's so many questions.
I mean, I would like to see, given the rule base. So, like, okay, if you're a business or a homeowner, and assuming this rule-based system works how I would envision it, would be essentially only in these cases would you allow a police department to access the camera history.
You know,
Right.
And the theory of the slippery slope comes into place. Only in these cases. And then all of a sudden, oh, what about, oh, we never thought about that. Oh, slip. Oh, what? Slip. Oh, slip. Oh, slip.
Or someone going, you know what, this case doesn't meet the requirements. Let's relabel it as something more serious.
Yeah, or what happens if you're in the U.S., maybe not so much here in Canada, but under the Patriot Act in the United States, what's to stop an agency from now accessing that information without warrant?
Oh, that's true.
Right? I mean, there's so many questions. I
can do
get
that
it.
with Ring anyways.
Yeah, I get it. You know, we want to feel safer, and technology has an ability to assist on that. But I think too many people think that technology is going to be the savior when it comes to safety and public health, and it's not. I mean, it's a part of the problem.
We can keep you safe. Just keep you in a padded room. You'll be safe.
I mean, Great Britain is a good example. I mean, if there's any country in the world that has been using CCTV and using linkages, England, the city of England itself. I mean, it has. They got the ring of steel around London, right? Like, you can't get in there without getting caught on some kind of surveillance 24/7. The question is, do you want to live in that type of society, right? Like, do you want to live in a society that as soon as you leave the home, and even when you don't leave the home, that you're constantly being surveilled? And who has access to that information? And why do they have access to that? So all these questions, right? Like, I'm not saying that this may not be a good idea under certain circumstances, because it could be, right? But how far do we go on this slippery slope where all of a sudden it's like, I'm gonna use the analogy of the banks. They're too big to fail, right? Well, what happens now if this thing gets too big and we lose control of it and it's in place now, right? What are you smiling at?
Oh, nothing. This is a new game came out that is basically this. But
really?
But basically, if this company were to become the company for security around the world, what possibly?
The Umbrella Corp.
I don't know. It's interesting, and I think the rules-based system. It's opt-in, which is what we like, right?
Yeah.
If you are a family owner, you want to feel safer, you want to help your local police, you integrate with their system. If the rule-based system works how I would imagine it would work, is that you control when they could have access.
I mean, the Ring Neighborhood Watch option, which this isn't, is kind of a good idea, right? Because if you got somebody, especially during Christmas season, that are coming under your porch and stealing, prime parcels and stuff, then it's good to be able to get that picture out to the entire community so they can be on the watch out for these people.
But we've seen that program be abused.
Yeah, it can be abused, right? For sure.
And we've seen people racially profiling individuals who look suspicious in their neighborhood, and then there's a lot of social issues that these systems do not protect.
And this is why I think there needs to be more discussion on this. And sometimes I found, maybe things have changed since I've retired, but police believe that we know what's best for you. We're the police, you're not, and those days are gone, right? And so I hope that there's lots of public consultation going on with this, right?
I would like to see the labeling of, so in terms of transparency, where every situation where you accessing live video feed or recorded video feed, and depending on the rules-based system and how you rule-based it, if we could go through a process to double check, okay, you labeled this as a code red, where now you have access to all the cameras.
Right.
Does it actually live up to that, or did you kind of extend your privileges a little more?
I mean, here in Canada, we have a little bit more.
Oh yeah, in Canada, this would be a no-go.
Right, we have a little bit more of stopgaps put in place. Having said that, in exigent circumstances, law enforcement can access video cameras, right?
Through a warrant, and usually it's not like a direct
even without warrant, right? If it's an exigent like if it's a school shooting going on, and we know that the school's got cameras, and we're trying to find the bad guy, well, that's a really good example of an exigent circumstance, right? Like in exigent circumstances, right? But again, the definition of exigent is what is important, because what's exigent to me may not be to you.
Right.
But these are the types of discussions that I think that countries need to have on this technology, right? Is especially if it's involving government with private vendors, and what are they doing with that information, right? So we need to have these discussions at higher levels, right? We really do. So there you go.
All right, well, that's the show. Let us know in the comments below what you think about surveillance.
Good show. I mean, it's interesting, right? I mean, more and more, like it or not, you can see it today in police departments, where they even advertise on Twitter if anybody's got dash cam video of the accident, right? Like, I have a dash camera, right, on my vehicle.
Yeah, and that's built into this platform as well.
Right, and really?
Well, yeah, people, average citizens can upload video to go, hey, I saw this happening.
And why do I have dash camera in my car was because we were going to the United States so often that if I was involved in an accident from a civil liability standpoint, I wanted to have a video evidence to either disprove or prove that I was at fault, right?
Yeah, video evidence has come in great assistance in the last couple months.
It has been, right? So it's just... So we just need to be alive to that issue, right? Like, we are more and more, like it or not, as soon as you leave the home, you need to suspect that you're being watched by somebody, right? right, by somebody. But
unless you walk around inside a box.
or we get those well, that shirt with the license plates and wear those
Well,
masks.
your face would still be on cam. Well, I mean, I guess everyone wears masks.
Well, if I get those glasses that come with the infrared
Oh,
lights, right? Where you put them on and there's the infrared and
infrared.
it just
You get the
kinda-
license plate shirts.
Yeah.
We can be invisible people walking down the street like you can't see me,
Yeah,
except people actually there.
I know.
But
But these are great
I wanna do that.
discussions, right? Like you
Can we
and
do
I,
that?
we love technology, right? We love technology,
we walk
right?
down down Victoria with like license plate shirts and then glasses that flash
I think
infrared lights into
I
our
think
face.
we'd be arrested on a mental health act if we did that, right? But I mean, we love technology. Don't get us wrong, and technology can have a lot of good. I mean, these cameras. Think about it. If it wasn't for a camera and the George Floyd incident,
True.
we would never have known what had happened there. There would be denials. It never happened, right? So there are some good reasons why cameras, when it comes to surveillance, can be a good thing to prove or disprove significant issues, right?
Yeah.
Like there's no doubt about it. But the more and more surveillance is a part of our lives, the more and more we should be more concerned about George Orwell's 1984 book. I mean, I remember reading it when I was in high school, going, "Why are we reading this thing?" And now I look back and go, "My God! Like this guy knew his stuff, right? Because everything he talks about in that book is coming to life, right?" So, anyways, but I do think technology is cool. I do think technological surveillance has its place under certain circumstances, as long as there's proper overwatch. And especially when it's done by government.
But those in power don't want Overwatch.
That's the issue,
Why would they
right?
want Overwatch? They're in power.
That's the issue, right? Especially when it comes to law enforcement and government agencies, especially law enforcement right now, because we need to build that trust. But there needs to be more civilian overwatch and buy-in. And that means we got to get out of the attitude that we're the police, you're not, and we'll do what we want to do because we're the cops, right? Well, we got to get out of that mindset. Policing are the people and the people are the policing. And that comes from Sir Robert Peel, the founder of policing, right? And I think we've kind of lost that side of the equation where people are the police, much like the police are the people, right? So anyways.
All right. Well, let us know down below if you stuck with us.
I'll get off of my box of the Church of Darrentology now, right? Like
Okay.
The thoughts of Darren, right?
Okay. Well, from the entire White Hatter
Boomer.
team, thank you so much for joining us. If you've stuck with us through all those rants, we'll see you in the next.
Another good discussion, though.
Yeah, true.
Another good discussion, and we'll see you next week.
All right.
See ya.
Bye, everybody.